So namaste and welcome guys. This is the third video in continuation of our series on the backup of CSE. So as we all know that there is a rising consciousness and awareness regarding the subjectivity, unpredictability and uncertainty involved in the CSE process. So people are looking for the backup. So various people who have come out and spoken on the importance of backup, but they haven't told you like what it could be. So here in this series our aim is to look for some avenues and to look at their pros and cons and analyze that how feasible are they. So when one talks of CSE and its alternatives like backup plans, then the first one which comes in the mind is the state services, right? State services in most of the states have the syllabus almost similar to the CSE, but the only difference being that CSE is more of an analytical exam. Of course, it needs rote learning and it has got that objective component as well, like preliminary examination. But state, in case of a state, what happens is that they are based on the rote learning more and they are very much predictable, unlike the CSE. For example, the efforts which you are putting in CSE, for example, the time which you are giving to CSE, if you had given the same time to the state, then you would have got service allotted to you, like highly likely. So why is it so? Because there is a lot of certainty in state services, not in with respect to the examination process, because it goes on for a long time and there are litigations, as the person has brilliantly put out. Although she belongs to Tamil Nadu, but the things which have brought to our notice, which she has brought to our notice, they are relevant in all the state services, be them the Tamil Nadu or be them any other states. So we would just look at the glance, like she says that the recruitment notifications are not scheduled for the whole year. So this is right. Like I come from MP and I know that key for the past 4 to 5 years there have been a lot of uncertainty for the last 4 to 5 years, like people who wrote the examination in 2019 or 20, their results are pending now. So yeah, this is one thing. Notifications aren't released on the in a time bound manner. And then second thing is the results are not announced in a time bound manner. There are litigations going on. Exactly, in every state you will see the litigations going on. There are alleged cases of the corruption of favoritism. Well, I'm not very much sure of, but nevertheless, yeah, the process is not that sincere, serious, punctual and regular as we can see it in the case of UPSC. But the bigger question which arises here, are nobody getting selected? Is nobody getting selected? Have there been no recommendations or selections in the past 2 to 3 years? This is the bigger question. Of course, the process is not foolproof. Of course, there are certain flaws in the process. The things are not like CSE. Of course, the reason is that you have got a benchmark with you CSE, so you compare other services like state services with the CSE, and you think that key other state service boards should also offer the same response, the same quality of response, and the working mechanism, just like UPSC does in case of CSE. So expectations are higher, but still what I would say is that key, you should consider state services, and you should not just put them aside. You should not put them aside mainly because there have been some cases of irregularities. There have been some unpunctuality with respect to the announcement of the dates, results, and etc. Why is it so? Because after some time what you think is that you should get into the services. After some time the perks, allowances, the job responsibilities, the areas, these all the fancy things, which when you are very young look for, they do not matter much. Of course, there is a caveat, like the whole series is not intended for those who come from prestigious institutes like IIT and IIM, and they have the inclination towards working in the technological firms. So it is not for them. Like their life is sorted. They are all set to go and work there, even if they do not make it in the CSE. It is mainly for those like who do not come from prestigious institutes. If they have engineering background, the branch was not good, or they had humanities, or they had some uh, they had graduation in something else, or they have got no backup opportunities. They do not see any light in their life ahead, and they think that they are stuck in the CSE process. So in that case, you should be prudent, and pragmatically speaking, you should consider state services actively. And I have seen some people who not only appears in the state examinations of other states while they are primarily preparing for CSE, but they even clear it. Yeah, but they even clear it. Okay, because broadly speaking, the syllabus more or less remains the same, for the exception that you'll have to study extra for that particular state. And if that state is yours, then you should be aware of the general information, because in the interview, after all, you would be asked questions on that. So why not to start preparing for it? Like how hardly will it take, like 1 to 2 hours, if you keep on studying it like for 3 to 4 months. Hardly will it take 1 to 2 hours. So that is great. Another thing is that CSE people are always at the advantage in the mains, because they have extraordinary writing skills. So mains, after all, is a subjective game, and you'll have an edge over there if you come from English medium. So you will definitely have an edge over there, at least in the MP. This works. So in the MP, for the last 5 cycles, there have been a lot of discontinuity and irregularities. People are complaining that the State Service Commission is not very punctual, is not disciplined, doesn't do the work properly. There have been such allegations, but nevertheless, I have seen like a list came of 2020 candidates, I guess. Although it came like 2 years, after 2 years, it took a long time, but at least it came. At least it came. Like there was the examination schedule for May, I think 7 days before the CSE 2023 prelims, but at least it was scheduled. So you see a ray of hope, you see the light, and primarily it is not something you are targeting. Primarily, your primary goal is CSE. So even if there are irregularities, if there is no punctuality with respect to the dates, then you should not be much concerned about. But what I want to say is that there is a huge misconception. People normalize it, people just look for the pleasure. This is pure psychology, and people say that ki, oh my god, I cannot read facts, I cannot mug up the data. I'm not that guy like who can go on mugging up the factual data, so I cannot pursue state PCS. And this is all BS language. There is no sense in it. Pardon me. This is, guys, this is a pure myth that the state services are purely factual, and UPSC is purely analytical or concepts based. So this is a myth. Like for anybody who has cleared CSE prelims, then or written mains, or even leads to the interview, he or she, if honestly speaks, then he or she would tell you that how much the relevance of facts, mugging up the facts, is there in the CSE. It is tremendous. It is tremendous, guys. So you cannot be somebody like who goes on reading things just for the sake of reading. What is needed is learning and mugging up the facts. So the pretty much the same process is there in state as well. Don't listen to toppers. Don't They come from different big backgrounds. Like the life is different, the goal motives are different. So just analyze yourself, your position. Where do you see yourself down the line 4 years? What's your background? Based on these parameters, my personal bias would be towards considering the state services along with the CSE. The reason I have told you, right? Recently the results came of Rajasthan RPS, and what happened that a couple of friends of mine, they got cleared at actually there were 4 to 5 people who were in my acquaintance who cleared. But what happened, for some reasons I do not know, like there were 800 selections, and then it came into the news that only those who got the ranks till 400 would be considered, and rest all, for rest all, there is no certainty to get the services allotted to them. There's no certainty. So of course there are cases like that. So it's like half glass filled syndrome. Why are you looking at the glass which is half filled? Why are you completely uh, you know ignoring the glass which is half filled with the water. Look at the glass which is half filled with the water. So there are discrepancies. Last year Haryana PSC took place, and for some reason the prelims it got cancelled. But wasn't it conducted again? Wasn't it conducted again? Of course it was. So this is all the narrative which is there in the media. This is I guess partially it is because of the CSC specific coaching institutes, also because they peddle a narrative because of their vested interest that you should primarily, you should only be focusing on the CSC only. uh, I think one should be prudent. Like if you are coming from IITs, IIMs, a very fabulous background, if you are having, you are situated like fairly well, then you can aim primarily for the CSE. But uh, otherwise I guess you should be considering this examination, state services examination also. So this was the less of an informative video, much of more of a casual talk. Like I have the experience, I have talked to the people, I have my friends who are in the state services. Earlier they were in the CSE. Many of the friends are there who have cleared the state services, working, serving as SDM or DMs, and still aspiring to become the IAS or IPS officers, like cracking the CSE. So they're having the cases. But when I ask the people, the two sets of people, those who have got the allocations in the state services, and those who are still stuck in the process of CSE, who would be happy? Who do you think would be happy? Here also you will get ample of opportunities to work for the society. The opportunities, avenues are very diverse, and mind you guys, these all are the fancy terms which are they are just for the sake of interview. They do not matter much in the ground. Like the ground reality remains that what tangibly, what practically do we get. It's just that it's a service which we are looking for. What will happen in case, God forbid, you exhaust your all six attempts? So just try to analyze it comprehensively. Don't go for the narrative set by some toppers, some privileged upper class toppers and some coaching institutes. Don't go for that narrative. Don't seek the comfort. Don't seek the comfort. You'll have to mug up the facts, and that's the fact. So there are two cases. Like we are taking a scenario, like there are two scenarios, call them case studies. One is the guy who did a lot of efforts. Like they both put the same amount of efforts. The efforts were put in the PSC here. Okay, of course there are more chances of clearing the PSC than the CSE, though there are irregularities, or we can say that he was doing both the things, PSC plus CSE, because both are not completely opposite, like two poles apart. Okay, there is a significant overlap. Only the 20 to 25% of the portion is there which doesn't overlap. So this guy was considering both. Now he got the service at the PSC. Now this guy is stuck in the CSE only. So would you want to be at this place? No. Down the line, 4 years when you go, you will feel that like any services, be that any services, that would be great if you have got it. For that reason, even if it is SSC, like the top posts in the SSC, they are great. So this was the discussion. I hope I have answered all of the questions which you have in your mind. And on the closing note, I would just like to say that uh, be you from any state, you should when the day when you decide to like appear in the UPSC, like if you have planned it right from the graduation, and if you are having something sort of humanities, you are pursuing political science, economics or anything, then you should, as a hobby at least read about what about your state. So in a unconscious, subconscious or indirect manner, you will be preparing for your state also. God forbids if in the first initial one or two attempts you are unsuccessful to qualify CSE, then you will have your state services syllabus ready with you, and you can appear there. So this is one thing. And for the creamy layer guys, you can avoid state services. But at least, but I feel that even those like who are from rich backgrounds in terms of academics, as well as in terms of the finances, they should also aspire for the state services, because Relatively, when we see comparatively, when we see the state services are of course situated below the central services, all India services, but nevertheless you become the DM there, guys. You become the DM there, right? And no, sorry, pardon, DC there. The DC stands for deputy collector, and the SDM, like these are significantly powerful and prestigious posts nonetheless. So you should be continue, you can continue with your CSE as well. So information like the straight direct meticulous information regarding the pattern of the exam and everything else you can get from other sources. The purpose of this video was to dispel the myth that both are two poles apart, both cannot be done together, both should not be done together. Of course you can say that ki I have a bias, and that bias is actually, I feel, is prudent. I base my bias in the prudence and rationality. I have got the empirical studies done, of course, formally. Sorry, informally. I mean, so based on that, I am saying that key one should be futuristic, foresighted early in the life, and should plan the whole CSE journey accordingly. It is like when you are going to a shops, suppose you are buying something, and sometimes you buy them in combos, sometimes you keep something just for the just like extra एक extra पटक लेते हैं just for the sake of, if the first one stops working. Suppose you are going to buy something, like you are going to buy a charger or cable, for example, then you'll take a cable worth like 1000 rupees, but at the same time you will keep another cable with you for like 500 rupees or 700 rupees, which you think will work, will help you, will come handy in case the first one stops working. So the very crudely I have explained you, and narrowly you can connect it with the CSE case. The analogy pretty much applies there as well. So primarily, like, you have this thing CSE thing, but God forbids, as the figures very glaringly says that, because out of the 10 lakhs, barely 10,000 make it to the mains, and out of those only 2 to 3,000 make it to the interview, and out of those barely 800 few lucky ones make it to the list, and out of those also even as higher as 30 to 40% they want to improve their post and they reappear. So whether you know it or not, the people who appeared in the last interview have got the ranks. Like 30% of those are there in the race with you this time, would be writing the mains. So the cut thought competition is there, and again the level of subjectivity involved is tremendous. If you want like more information, I have got friends from UP, MP, Rajasthan, Bihar, from everywhere, like who have been into the process, like in both the exams, and have cleared CSE or like both the examinations with the flying colors. So we can get them on the show and make the things much more clearer. This was something like people do not talk in the public. The official channels, which are their educational channels, news channels, do not put their out in the public. And this is something the only the person who is experienced can tell you. This is the harsh reality. Don't fall in the trap of the narrative and ruin your future. Be prudent, be smart, plan smartly. You know, the kahabat proverb, as it goes on, don't put all of your eggs in one basket. So don't expect all the results just from the CSE. Suppose you're working 8 hours a day, then oh my god, there's something wrong with the pencil, guys, forgive me. So what I was basically saying is that suppose you're working 8 hours a day for the CSE, and so as to also aim for the PSC secondarily, not primarily, what you will need to do is to put extra 1 to 1.5 hours. It is nothing, guys, it is nothing, it's not a big deal. Just think that you are preparing for your interview, because in the interview also you'll have to prepare for your state, right? And already you know a lot of things about your state. When I put my fingers on the book of my state, then it was very interesting, because I have visited all the places. I have got the friends from all the places, most of the places in my state, that is MP. So it was very interesting and fascinating to again read about it in an organized manner. This was it. Maybe I spoken a lot. Maybe this got protracted, but I hope that you got the essence of what I meant to say. It's just that I again insist on it, ending with it, to sum it up, please do not take the state services lightly. They have the flaws. Everybody have got the flaws. Nobody is perfect. Even gods are. So please, it is my request to you, like if you are starting early, then also you should focus on it. And if you have there if you have been there in the CSC process for the last 2 to 3 years, you have exhausted nearly exhausted your attempts, then also you should focus on it. But it becomes difficult in the end or in the middle of the process, like you have given 3 attempts, it becomes a little bit difficult. You are tired, you are exhausted, you have got you are left with no interest. You get into the family business, you get into the some another academic activities. So it is always easy to start early. This is all what I wanted to say. And for other queries which you have in your mind, you can just write them down in the comment section below. I'll get them addressed. Our team will address them. And if you want like specific talks on some specific topics with the toppers, with the officers, from your state or from any other field, you can please put all the queries down below in the section. We will be coming up with the podcast in the near future. And all the best to you guys. Yeah, that is it. Bye. Jai Hind.